number 6. Today we are making a yam portobello mushroom bake. It also has russet potatoes in it and sea vegetable. And the one we're going to use is called dulse. Dulse, D-U-L-S-E. And it's very mild in flavor. It's more salty than anything else. So it'll bring a nice salty flavor into your food, and you can use less sea salt or soy sauce. But sea vegetables are wonderful in trace minerals, and I was going to talk about that a little bit. I'll talk about the benefits of sea vegetables, and then we'll go ahead and start tossing our chopped potatoes with our coconut oil or ghee. You could use coconut oil or ghee. A little bit of soy sauce and water, half and half. It gets a nice sauce that way and really carries these ground spices in through all the vegetables and gets them everywhere. And we've got this pan here that can also go in the oven, which is great because on the stovetop I'll get that coconut oil melted in there, maybe like 3 tablespoons or so, with the water, and the shoyu makes, you know, a half a cup or a cup of sauce for us to get all those ground spices all over the potatoes, and then we'll put it in the oven to bake. So it's going to be really tasty. This is a great alternative to the classic candied yams with at Thanksgiving you see with the heavy syrups or marshmallows. My family loved it when I made it last year. And the mushrooms and soy sauce make like a nice richness, and the salty of the sea vegetable and the shoyu soy sauce counters the sweet of the yam. So it's just a real nice, it's like you got all the flavors in one dish. It's great. But sea vegetables are so wonderful for us because they contain trace minerals. And our land vegetables are often depleted in these more sort of rare, I guess you could say, but it's not common to find a lot of trace minerals in our land vegetables. It's hot in here today. The silt from the land washes into the ocean, and the sea vegetables growing off the coast, you know, kelp, kombu, arame, wakame, dulse, hijiki. There's all these wonderful sea vegetables all over the world, and people in Japan and the Orient also have been eating them for years. And a lot of people who are into whole foods healing and nutrition believe that it's the sea vegetables and the fish in the diets of these people who live in Asian countries that promote their beautiful skin and hair and longevity in general in late into life. Sea vegetables are great for balancing the yin fluids in the body, so they help us maintain moisture. And those trace minerals are just so important for us. Getting your dark leafy greens from the land for your iron and copper and calcium and magnesium, and then incorporating sea vegetables. They say small amounts of sea vegetables regularly helps impart sort of like a calmness. So the sea vegetables as well, okay, so the physical benefits of sea vegetables are that they give us the trace minerals, the molybdenum, the, what are they called, like vanadium, lithium, strontium, things you've never heard of before, really, that we need a little bit of all those. So the physical benefits of sea vegetables is trace mineral supplementation and yin fluid retention, like helping us maintain the balance of moisture in the body. And there's other ones too. They're great for intestinal strength. There's a lot of benefits for sea vegetables. Christina Turner in the Self-Healing Cookbook has a whole chapter on 3 pages on the benefits of sea vegetables in general, and then each page is a different sea vegetable, its particular benefits, and a whole recipe, or 2 or 3 recipes that go with each sea vegetable if you don't know how to really incorporate them flavorfully. And when you start getting into the ones like hijiki and even nori, they can have a little bit of an oceany smell and flavor, and you can learn how to use curry or stronger spices to kind of mask those smells and flavors. So don't be afraid to experiment with sea vegetables. Most of the time you need to soak them before you cook with them. And the two that are easiest to incorporate and that don't require soaking beforehand are the dulse and arame. And they're also both the most mild in flavor. So I'd recommend starting with dulse and arame, just small amounts in your cooking, and then, graduate to soaking kombu and putting that into your beans. About 30 minutes into your cooking of your beans, add a strip of soaked kombu, and you soak it for just about 30 minutes in a bowl of water. You can cut it into small pieces with kitchen scissors and throw it into your stews or big pots of beans or soups, and if you cook it long enough, it will for like an hour, it will dissolve into the food, and there won't be any physical. You won't see it, but all the minerals have disappeared into there and given your family wonderful minerals. So I would highly recommend Christina Turner's Self-Healing Cookbook if you want to know the details of each sea vegetable and its mineral profile and how it benefits us. Hijiki is known as the strengthener. It gives us strength and strong intestines, and it's full of iron. Wakame is known as the woman's sea vegetable. It's the highest in calcium and helps maintain, the emotional benefits of sea vegetables. They say that they're calming to the nature. So they help even calm hyperactive kids, they say, if they have the sea vegetables in their diet. So the benefits of sea vegetables are innumerable. I could list them all, but I encourage you to start discovering that on your own, because it's something in our culture that I think we all need to start having in our diets for trace minerals. What I'm going to do here is put about 3 tablespoons of either butter or coconut oil, or maybe peanut oil if you had an unrefined peanut or unrefined grapeseed, any high heat oil into your casserole dish. Well, this pot is great because we can use it on the stovetop and put it in the oven. But you want to toss all these nice cut into bite-sized pieces, these potatoes and yams, with the oil and the 3 ground spices. We'll use about a tablespoon of each one, except the nutmeg. We'll use like a half teaspoon of that because it's so strong. And the shoyu, you toss it all with that and then throw it in the oven. So that's what we're going to do here, and I'm using coconut oil today. That's nice. It's so hot today that the coconut oil, a lot of it has liquefied. And I will put this on low heat, medium heat, I guess. I'm going to add our ground spices first. So we're doing a heaping teaspoon or a level tablespoon or so of ground ginger. It just depends on how much you like the flavor of ground ginger. It can be a little bit spicy for some people. So I'll do about 1.5 teaspoons. Here, ground ginger. It's always different. Every time I cook, I use a different amount of each spice. I just know in general I want less of the nutmeg than the other two. And then maybe a teaspoon of coriander. A little bit less on the coriander compared to the ginger. So we have mostly ground ginger, and then next would be coriander, and then just like a half teaspoon of the nutmeg. And I'm going to stir this in with some shoyu and water. This is half and half. A good Nama or Eden brands are the ones I recommend for shoyu. But this is making a carrier for all our potatoes. It smells good already. And so we have russet potato and garnet yam, and something called Okinawa sweet potato, which is a wonderful new breed of sweet potato I haven't seen until the last about 3 years, but it's more yellow. It has the reddish skin like a garnet or a jewel yam, but it's yellow inside. And it's wonderfully sweet, even sweeter, I think, than the garnet or jewel. And then the russet potato gives it a little body, and so it's not overly sweet, because this can be very, very sweet. I'll add these last. The portobello mushrooms. You can really use any kind of mushrooms. I just like the thickness and the meatiness of the portobellos a lot. So what I'm doing here is just getting all those spices all over the potatoes. You know what I may even do in the oven is put a cookie sheet over this to keep the moisture in. Portobello mushrooms. This gives it almost a meatiness, like a vegetarian meat. So wonderful. And our dulse sea vegetable, which, okay, so dulse is easy. Dulse is pretty easy to tear apart with your fingers. Sometimes you may need to use kitchen scissors to get it into smaller pieces, but this is just mostly a salty flavor. So, but it's full of food state iodine, and that's why it's so purple in color. So dulse is highest in iodine, which you do need in your diet. And also something I remember about sea vegetables is that they can bind with heavy metals and help chelate and expel heavy metals from your system, like mercury and things we're not supposed to have, but also radioactive substances. They're known to really help thyroid function and to bind with radioactive residual radioactive stuff if you've been exposed to that. So I'm gonna add all this. Go heavy on it. It smells so great already. I'm going to add the rest of this shoyu. And see, I don't know if I've shown you this in another video, if you haven't seen another video, but I get these little containers at my natural food store. You can get them anywhere. But what they have in their refrigerated section is a glass jar of straight shoyu soy sauce, and they have a tamari as well, a wheat-free tamari. And Nama and Eden brands I think are the best. San-J, S-A-N-J is another fairly decent brand. I think I consider it third on the list as far as quality, and it doesn't have alcohol to preserve the freshness, and they do use sea salt instead of refined salt. But I'll fill half of this at the natural food store with the bulk. You know, I can get however much I want and bring my own container, but I'll fill half of this with the straight shoyu. It's about 51 cents an ounce where I live, and then I'll bring it home and fill the rest with water and dilute it so that I can get it all over my stir fries and it's not too strong, because the straight soy sauce is very salty. Wow, this looks so great. Yum. You can do this meal entirely on the stovetop if you like, but the baking it imparts a warming nature to the food, and sort of the spices have a longer time to really release their flavors, so it becomes very rich and savory in the oven. So basically what I did here was half of the time on the stovetop, maybe 10 minutes continually stirring it so those potatoes soften a little bit, the spices get everywhere, and then stick it in the oven for 30 minutes at 350. But if you were to not do any stovetop at all, it would take an hour at 350. And the potatoes should be cut into bite-sized pieces. But also what I'm going to do is, because this pan doesn't really have a lid that fits it, I'm going to just use this cookie sheet here to sort of keep some of the moisture in while it's in the oven. Okay. So I'm going to open the nice oven. I've preheated this to 350, and I'm going to throw it on in. For about 30 minutes. And then I wanted to talk a lot about winter cooking and fall cooking, and also how to store nuts, seeds, and oils. But winter and fall is the time to eat, especially if you tend to be cold and weak and deficient, maybe underweight, and you need to come back from an illness or gain weight. Those are the body types, and then winter and fall are the time of year to incorporate more oils and fats, good ones of course, and possibly animal products for building and warming. But the fall and winter cooking that's best to impart that warming thermal nature is baking in general, using a pressure cooker, or baking or stir frying with cast iron, because cast iron really absorbs a lot of heat and holds it, and it imparts more of a warming thermal nature to the food as opposed to cooking in stainless steel. There's different foods as well for fall and winter. Fall and winter vegetables are the root vegetables like we've used here, the parsnips and yams and burdock root and potatoes. They're heavier foods. The sturdy winter greens, the crucifers that are nice and leathery and thick, the kale, collard greens, even Brussels sprouts, as opposed to like the summer greens would be like the more flimsy greens that like the turnip and radish tops, or mustard greens, or bok choy. The fall and winter grains are wheat, rye, kamut, and amaranth. So those are the grains that help the body stay warm in winter. And of course more fats and animal products. Oh, and the winter fruits would be apple and pear. Those are the fruits that grow in the colder and more northern climates. But in general, fruit, especially tropical fruit, is very cooling to the body. Today it's 104 degrees outside. We should be eating melon, just melon. You know, that would be, and water with it. That would be very cooling to the body and regulating in the hot afternoon. And of course, as far as food combining principles, like I talked about in another video, we don't want to combine melon or citrus with other foods. We want to eat those alone, like 2 hours before eating anything else, and waiting 2 hours after we eat those foods before we eat a different, our main meal. So storing your nuts and seeds and oil. See, all these foods are rich in oil, and oil will pull plasticides out of plastic, especially at room temperature or when there's heat added. So we want to keep our nuts and seeds and oils in glass, or ceramic or stainless steel, but commonly they're available in glass, and at 65 degrees or below, okay? Because heat, light, and air all will encourage oils to oxidize, and thusly, another word for that is rancidify. So we want to keep our oils low in the pantry, or even in the refrigerator. What I do is I bring my nice local unrefined or extra virgin olive oil home. It's got sediment in the bottom, and it's dark green. I know it's just cold pressed and organic preferably, but I bring that home, and it's like a wine bottle sized container, and I'll pour half of it into a container to have low in my pantry for access while I'm cooking, and I'll put the other half in the fridge because I just want the integrity of those molecules to stay as they are. So the same thing with your nuts. If you can get your nuts in from a place where they refrigerate them and have them in glass jars like they do at my natural food store, that's the best. And they supply me with Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, pecans, walnuts, almonds that way. And I bring them home and put them into little glass jars like old peanut butter jars or old pickle jars, and I put them in the fridge. So the same thing with your sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, and flax seeds. You want to keep them in opaque glass containers in the fridge. Oils especially you want to keep away from light, but you know, those flax seeds, if you're having, oh, and I think flax and cod liver oil or fish oil is another topic of our this video, but keeping your flax seeds at below 65 degrees is important, and then grinding them fresh just before you eat them, or grinding them with your teeth, are the best ways to get your omega-3s through flax with the lignans, with all the elements of the whole seed in it, so the body recognizes it as something it can use. And you know, in nature you wouldn't find just flax oil. So it's an okay, convenient thing to do, but if you really want the whole food benefits of flax, get it from the whole seed. And they say 3 tablespoons a day ground, or ground with your teeth. And if I grind them with my teeth, I'll soak them in a little bit of water, like a coffee cup. I'll put the 3 tablespoons in there and fill it up with water and let that sit. I'll stir it every, you know, if I'm cooking or something and I'm in there anyway, I'll stir it up so that when they swell and absorb some of that water over the next 2 hours before I decide to pour that soak water off and just eat the seeds in the bottom, they become mucilaginous, or like a little bit of a gel forms around each seed, and they can be kind of like a clump of seeds, you know what I mean? So it's a very weird texture, but eating a spoonful, and you know, it swells to about 5 bites worth of flax seeds, and you want to grind them real thoroughly, you know, chew them real thoroughly, and not be in a rush when you do it. But I'll basically alternate flax and fish oil. So I do flax on one day and fish oil on the next day. I used to do flax every day, and then I got into fish oil, and I used to do that every day. And they both have omega-3s, but they're different types of omega-3s. And for me, because I had acne even into my adult years, one person let me know that certain people don't produce a certain kind of oil in their skin to where their pores can keep being clear and having that oil come through and the skin slough off cleanly. So my pores were getting clogged because I didn't have, genetically, I guess, the omega-3s to keep my pores clear. But the fish oil, I do fish oil in the summer and cod liver oil in the winter. Cod liver oil is higher in vitamin D, and we don't get as much in the sun for the winter, so that's how I change that up yearly. But I'll alternate between the flax oil with the seeds, ground seeds, and the fish oil, because I want both in my diet, because I know the fish oil really benefits me. It's helped my skin, my moods, hormones. They say it's good for brain and nervous system integrity and health, and then hormone balance, and skin, and you know, having a glowing complexion and all that. I really wish that you guys could all ask me the questions you have on your minds, but you can. You can call me because I do phone consultations, and I'd love to talk to you at no charge for 5 minutes and assess your situation or answer a few questions for you, just as a service. So my number is 805-547-9073, and I hope you're doing really well. Thanks.